Have you ever felt like your life is more than random? As if you and your loved ones signed up for a grand adventure long before you were born? In many spiritual and New Age teachings, that sense of destiny is called a soul contract. This idea claims our souls make agreements about life's big lessons and relationships before we take our first breath. It's a thrilling thought, a cosmic plan or playbook written into our very existence. But is there any truth to it? We consciously pick major life challenges and goals in the spiritual realm, then incarnate on earth to play them out. For example, one soul planner imagines choosing the family, friends, or soulmates we'll meet in life. Some say even children sometimes remember choosing their parents before birth. In this view, life's hard moments aren't accidents, but planned lessons for our soul's growth. Think of it like writing the script for your own movie before filming starts. Across world, religions and cultures, ideas similar to soul contracts appear, though described differently. In Hinduism, the cycle of samsara, rebirth, teaches that our actions, karma, decide the next life. Ancient texts explain that we should live with an eye to the future. If you believe in rebirth, planning for your next life is as important as planning for your current one. In practice, this means behaving virtuously now to shape a better rebirth later. Hindu scriptures even say that one's final thoughts at death influence the next incarnation. So focusing on good thoughts and God can change our fate. Buddhism, likewise, teaches rebirth, but with a twist. Buddhists reject an unchanging soul, no Atman, yet still believe a stream of consciousness continues life to life. Karma propels this cycle of samsara, stopping only when enlightenment, nirvana, ends rebirth. Some schools even speak of a transitional realm, bardo, between death and next birth. So while the word soul contract isn't used, the idea of life patterns shaped by past causes is very familiar in Buddhism. New Age and esoteric traditions often blend these ideas. Many talk about soul plans where agreements are made with others before birth. These plans cover romantic partners, family roles, or big life events. For instance, a soul teacher, Irina Nola, describes how kids sometimes claim to pick their parents in a pre-birth meeting, or spiritual parents volunteer to teach a soul lessons. Hindu and Buddhist believers would interpret such stories as rebirth paths guided by karma and compassion. Even outside Asia, some Christians and others are curious. Mainstream Christianity generally does not teach reincarnation or soul contracts, but some mystical or New Age Christian groups have speculated about pre-birth planning in God's kingdom, though these views are not official doctrine. In short, soul contracts are a big theme in East Asian and New Age thought, but not a part of most Western religions. Now for the really intriguing part. Personal accounts. Over the past century, researchers have gathered thousands of stories from people, often children, who claim to remember past lives or pre-birth existence. The most famous is Dr. Ian Stevenson and his successor, Dr. Jim Tucker at the University of Virginia. They collected over 2,500 cases of young children around the world who reported very specific memories of a past life. I think I used to be somebody else, a 4-year-old boy named Ryan once told his mother. He rattled off details about a house in Hollywood with a pool and said he had a Hollywood career dancing on Broadway and working as an agent. When Mom dug up a 1930s movie still, Ryan identified himself and a co-star in the photo. Investigators eventually traced Ryan's memories to an obscure Hollywood figure, Marty Martin, who had died 40 years earlier. In total, 55 of Ryan's statements about Marty's life were later verified by public records and interviews. Researchers have documented thousands of cases of children reporting past life memories. Interestingly, about 30% of these children have birthmarks matching wounds from their claimed previous lives. Besides kids, a few adults have strange recollections of between lives or before birth. Some describe an intermission after death, a light-filled waiting room or God's house where they meet guides before reinterring a new baby's body. For example, about 1 in 5 of Dr. Tucker's subjects reported glimpses of this in-between phase. Others claim conscious memories of the womb or birth process. Psychiatrist Stanislav Grof once suggested that near-death experiences, the flash of light some people report when nearly dying, might actually recall birth memories. The idea is that consciousness isn't strictly tied to one life's timeline. What about science? Mainstream science doesn't have proof of soul contracts, but it's not totally silent. Modern researchers studying consciousness and near-death experiences (NDEs) have noted puzzling facts. For one, there is the NDE Life Review. Dr. Bruce Grayson and colleagues point out that some people who nearly die report an out-of-body trip and a life review that sometimes includes memories of what seems like another life before this one. These are not everyday dreams. They can be vivid, emotional, and detailed. Intriguingly, these NDE life recollections parallel stories that young children later tell about past lives. It suggests a strange connection. Could the human mind access memories not just of this life, but of some broader soul experience? Brain scientists also explore how consciousness arises. In other words, at a deep level, reality might not be just matter spinning, but a continuous field of awareness where personal memories could somehow persist. This is a radical idea, but not unheard of. Quantum physics has baffling concepts like entanglement or multiple universes, and some thinkers speculate that these might allow for survival of consciousness beyond death. Researchers like Tucker admit this is very speculative. Science currently has no instrument to measure a soul contract. Even so, these studies are data-driven. They catalog children's testimonies, test them. For example, having a child pick old photos of a house they say was theirs and look for patterns. One pattern most reported previous lives ended violently, as do many real lives. Also, cases pop up more where reincarnation is a common belief like India or Sri Lanka, but strong cases don't require a believing parent. All these findings won't prove soul contracts, but they fuel fascination. Of course, scientists rightly raise red flags. Could these memories be explained by normal psychology? Yes. Memory is not a tape recorder. Psychologists have studied false memories, vivid beliefs in events that didn't happen or never happened exactly as remembered. We know people can fabricate entire scenarios without realizing it. The infamous Mandela effect even shows large groups misremember the same movie line or logo. A child with a healthy imagination might mix facts they overheard with fantasies and then believe it as real. Dr. Stevenson himself warned about hypnosis. If you ask people to recover past life memories, they'll eagerly conform to suggestions, much like dreaming up a story. Under hypnosis or regression, the subconscious mind can spin a convincing tale filled with historical details picked up from movies or books. Stevenson wrote, "Nearly all such hypnotically evoked previous personalities are entirely imaginary. So a dramatic past life regression could simply be a kind of role play, not evidence of reincarnation." Even without hypnosis, stories can spread. A curious parent might share a book about history, and the child might pretend to be the hero of that book. We should also consider confirmation bias. If a child says something odd, people search for meaning and might interpret it as past life memory. Skeptics note that many children cases were recorded before Google or easy data access. But today's world is full of information that kids can absorb unknowingly. We also must remember ordinary cognitive biases. Psychologists note that our minds love patterns and explanations. When a child speaks of another life, adults often jump to spectacular conclusions. But it might simply be a story, a childhood game, or a creative coping with trauma. Without solid proof, science treats these as intriguing anecdotes, but not proof of soul contracts. So, where does that leave us? The idea of soul contracts lies at the crossroads of spirituality and science, heaven and earth, faith and doubt. Perhaps the truth is a mix. On one hand, it's a beautiful thought that our lives have purpose and that love and lessons connect across lifetime. On the other hand, it's wise to remember how easily our brains can trick us. Many people stay open-minded. They say, look, something unexplained is happening here. Children reporting accurate details no one in their family knew. Strange birthmarks matching past injuries, powerful NDA's stories. Maybe memory isn't confined to the brain as we know it. On the flip side, others say we should demand evidence. And so far, science has offered none that conclusively proves reincarnation or pre-birth planning. So, what do you think? Could it be that before each birth, souls sit down and plan their earthly journey, signing contracts with each other? Or is it that our wonderfully creative minds are weaving stories to make sense of life's mysteries? Maybe, just maybe, both perspectives hold a piece of the puzzle. As one modern researcher put it, viewing life as life before life can transform how we see our struggles, not as random punishments, but as chosen lessons for a growing soul. In the end, the soul contract remains an open question. Part spiritual legend, part scientific puzzle. It invites us to look deeper at consciousness, at love, and at the stories we live. Perhaps the answer lies somewhere beyond what we can measure, in the undiscovered country Shakespeare spoke of. Exploring these ideas is in itself a fascinating journey. one that keeps us curious, humble, and maybe just a little more connected to something greater than ourselves. If you like this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Until the next time, keep going.